sinners, and welcome back to day 6 of the 12 days of Sinmas. Can you believe it? We're pretty much halfway through Sinmas. Wow. Feels like Sinmas started less than a week ago. Anyway, my gift to you for the 6th day of Sinmas is heat-resistant gloves. That's right, we're talking about hot takes today, baby. Again, a few months ago, I asked you all to send in your hottest takes for me to react to, and you seem to enjoy it. So we're doing it a second time. And I'm excited to see what you'll have to say about today's hot takes. Because this isn't just any hot takes video, all right? It's the Sinmas edition. It's the most wonderful time of the year, after all. Let's start off with the hottest take yet. Crocs are ugly and uncomfortable. I don't care how many pins you put on them, your cheese shoes don't look cool and shouldn't be trendy. Those are fighting words in my household. Count your f***ing days, Liz. Obviously, I own Crocs, and not just any Crocs. I own Crocs with the fur lining and a black and white marble design. They're stupendous. I love them. They're my daily shoes. Fashion is subjective, and you're entitled to your wrong opinion. But you know what? My next door neighbor, who happens to be a lovely older woman, tells me all the time how much she loves my fur-lined Crocs. And I would rather listen to her opinion than some random internet stranger. That one was pretty cut and dry. I'm not gonna lie. I don't think this one will be as much. Sometimes rehoming animals isn't a bad thing, as long as it's done responsibly and for a good reason. Also, as long as it's not done every time you get an animal. I would agree with that. I've seen this happen with some influencers where they'll hard launch their designer puppy on Instagram, blast them all over social media, and then when the puppy's not a puppy anymore, when they're a full-grown dog, suddenly they disappear from the influencer's feed. And apparently that's a pretty common occurrence of like influencers rehoming animals as soon as they're not cute and little anymore. My cats are about 8 months old at the time of recording. Their birthday is March 11th. So they have about like 4 months left, and then they gotta go. I'm kidding. Obviously, I would never kick my cats out of my apartment. Although, I think they would kick me out before I would do the same to them. And I'm not convinced they're not planning to kick me out. Is there something I need to know? I can understand why that would be such a hard decision because the bond between a pet and their owner is so strong. But I've seen a trend among people who buy pets they're not equipped to take care of. They clearly didn't do any research into how to properly take care of this pet, and you do have to research whether it's a dog, cat, fish, frog, lizard. You need to know what to feed your pets. You need to know when to play with them, when to take them to the vet. Everything that goes into taking care of an animal is your responsibility. Speaking of animals, hello. Sorry, my cats have decided that now is the best time to horse around. But there's also times when it's out of the owner's control and they have no choice but to rehome the pet, whether it's because of their living situation, financial situation, maybe they fall ill suddenly and they can't physically take care of the pet anymore. That decision is always gonna suck. You don't wanna have to part with your pet. But if you do find yourself in the unfortunate situation where you have to give up your pet, it is your due diligence to find a good home for them. Whether that be a temporary stay as you figure things out, or you give them up to a shelter or a new family. We have to think about quality of life for the animal, and my heart does go out to people who've had to give up their pet due to circumstances out of their control. On a much different and more lighter note, I do have to show you these next 2 comments written by the same account, one right after the other. First, they said, drip coffee and French press coffee taste better than espresso. See, I drink K-Cups and Dunkin', so I have no horse in this race. I'll let all the coffee aficionados argue in the comments. But then right after that, they said, Uranus smells like farts. The duality of man. No, Uranus smells like farts. Ooh, this should be good. Having kids is overrated. You don't need to have them to have a completed life or to pass on a legacy or experience true love. You can do those in other ways. I would agree with you. I think there is an extreme pressure on young people to have children, especially women. Like, we're made to feel inadequate or like there's something wrong with us if we don't have kids or have no desire to be a mother. And we're always told, oh, you'll come around to it eventually. You'll want kids when you're a little older. What if I don't? And I say this as someone who's undecided on the matter. Granted, I am a lesbian. I'm dating a cis woman. And if we want kids, we really have to want kids because the amount of hoops we have to jump through to have children, whether that be through adoption, IVF. It's gonna take up a lot of time and a lot of money. But I don't know if I'd feel much differently if I was with a man. I can confidently say though, if I had kids right now, it would ruin my life. I'll admit it. I am too selfish to have a child, and I'm glad I have the self-awareness to not bring a child into the world. Unfortunately, I don't think a lot of parents have that same self-awareness, because I have met a lot of selfish parents in my day. I mean, if we really want to be controversial, I think having kids in general is a little selfish, because what about that decision benefits the kid? You're forcing them into this world. Am I getting too existential? I need to be prepared for the keyboard warriors to come after me. But yeah, to piggyback off of what this person was saying, you don't need kids to have a completed life. You can travel, you can accomplish your goals with or without children. I think another reason why I believe having kids is kind of selfish is this incessant need to pass on your legacy. Like, yeah, having kids is probably the easiest way to do that because it's biological, but you can also pass on your legacy by having a positive effect on your community, by contributing good things to the world. In the words of the great Lin-Manuel Miranda, legacy? What is a legacy? It's planting seeds in a garden you never get to see. I wrote some notes at the beginning of a song someone will sing for me. America, you great unfinished symphony you sent for me. I'm gonna go quoting Hamilton in late 2024. Jesus Christmas. But this next hot take is on a similar note. Adults should undergo training before being able to have children. It would ensure that they know the best ways to raise their children without giving them unnecessary trauma. Also, in the same vein, corporal punishment should be illegal. Okay, I was thinking this person meant capital punishment. I always confuse the two. I don't think either corporal or capital punishment should exist, just to be clear. I think parental training would benefit everyone involved, because also babies are high maintenance, dude. I mean, not their fault. They're babies, but they do need a lot of care. And I have no plans to become a parent anytime soon, but the little I know about child development, kids need a lot. I know that's not news to anyone watching, but like, damn. Woo, how do you do it? Although I said that having kids is a little selfish, I do have respect for all the parents out there who are doing a good job. I see you and I respect you. Couldn't be me, at least right now. But you know, I'm all for making sure people are as prepared as possible before they have a kid, because it's not fair to the kid if you don't know what the to do as a parent. Anyway, thank you for listening to me, a child-free adult, rant about parenthood for several minutes. Coffee and a puff of my vape is breakfast. No, it's not. Now I'm gonna become a parent for a sec. I'm going to sound like such a boomer for a second, so please spare me. But I hate how this has become sort of a meme among younger people. Like, oh, all I had for breakfast is a coffee, Lexus Pro, and my Elf bar. That's all I need for the day. Like, no, you deserve sustenance. You deserve to eat a hearty meal before you begin your day. And a coffee and vape is not gonna cut it. And this isn't me yelling at you, Boo Duran. I apologize if I mispronounced that. This is me giving you tough love. You deserve to feel energized in the morning, and you do that by consuming calories. So eat some yogurt, fruit, eggs, pancakes, toast, oatmeal, whatever it is to get some fuel into your body, because you deserve it. Because you deserve to start off the day on a good note. And a coffee and vape, not gonna cut it. Not around these parts. Also, remember when we were supposed to be the generation that would end nicotine smoking? What happened to that? Let me do a fact check. Is nicotine in vapes? Oh yeah, okay. Most vapes known as e-cigarettes contain nicotine. All right. Fact check number 15 of this video. Vapes have nicotine. I miss those days when the anti-cigarette commercials scared us all into not smoking. But now that you can inhale mango lime smoke all day long, it's appealing to people. Oh my God. I'm turning into my mother. I'm turning into my mother with the way I'm talking right now. These kids and their damn vapes and their damn phones, the damn TikTok. My mom isn't that old. That's not an accurate impression of her. Sorry, Mom. Blackforge1374 says, assuming that people who read fiction that contains controversial or immoral material desire those things in real life is gross, creepy, and literally incorrect. I'm assuming this person is talking about dark romance, a genre that explores more taboo subjects, more NSFW, adult, heavy topics you wouldn't find in regular literature, at least to this extent or this unfiltered. But I have to assume that most dark romance readers wouldn't want to be in the same position, because a lot of their times they're kidnapped, stalked, tortured by the male love interest, and that's supposed to be hot, and they have a bunch of sex and everywhere and blah, 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 blah. I assume that's not what most people would want. At least the kidnapping part, not the sex part. I don't know. That's your life. It's like saying that people who read thriller books want to kill people in real life. Like, you could be interested in the subject matter. You could want to read about it without actually wanting to practice that. I've read Misery by Stephen King, for example. Does that mean I want to hold some random man hostage in my cabin? No, I just thought the story was interesting. And going back to dark romance specifically, the genre allows people to explore those desires in a safe way without any consequences. Not that there aren't issues with the dark romance genre or the dark romance community, because there are, but I do think a lot of it has to do with misogyny, which is so funny because I found this comment like right afterwards. Most of the hate towards BookTok is rooted in misogyny. Yes, there is so much legitimate criticism of BookTok and specific authors like Colleen Hoover, but I see so much of the criticism just being these women are addicts or they have problems for liking this, which just leaves a bad taste in my mouth. BookTok is a lot of just women being open that they also have a sex drive and get sexual pleasure from things that aren't directly benefiting men, and I think they turn that into, well, they're all addicts. I don't think women wanting to read books that has smut in it makes them addicts. To be honest, it all just seems like another thing that became popular with women mostly, so society shames it, like a lot of other hobbies women have. This is all not to mention that books are a much more ethical way to consume than actual that men are the majority consuming, and we don't have a problem with them. I could have written this comment. Yeah, the pearl clutching and the shaming that happens on BookTok is not my vibe. I think we can and should make these criticisms without being judgmental in the process. And it's true, people hate anything that women like. Look at Justin Bieber, for example. He was so popular among teenage girls, and he was also the most hated celebrity in the early 2010s. It's not book related, it's just another example. And women are the majority of people who read romance. I think it's something like 80% of romance readers are women, and that happens to be the genre that gets the most whether it's smutty or not. Even just regular romance books are on because women enjoy them. It's disappointing, but not surprising. It's a tale as old as time, unfortunately. Society hates women, so by extension, they're gonna hate anything that majority women like. Because since a lot of people, men and women alike, see women as inferior, they assume that anything majorly liked by women is also inferior. And I find that does happen a lot on BookTok. I would agree. And you know what? As long as what the person is reading isn't affecting others, let them do what they want. Though I will say, the dark romance side of BookTok has done some pretty out-of-pocket shit. I don't know if you've heard of this story, but somewhat recently, a dark romance author was teasing her book and she fan casted some of the main characters. And I believe the story took place in a prison or had something to do with a prison, but the male love interest was a prisoner. And she fan casted this character with a dude who is currently on death row for murdering 2 women in real life. So I think once boundaries are crossed like that, then yeah, you should judge people because you're sexualizing this guy who destroyed 2 families. There's no excuse for that. Anyway, it's time for me to hop off my soapbox temporarily and move on. Anyone 30 plus years of age shouldn't be dating anyone below 25. If that frontal lobe ain't fully developed, y'all shouldn't be developing a relationship. People are gonna be mad at this, but it's true. Like, why are you at 32 years old interested in a 20-year-old? What sense does that make? What could you possibly have in common? Oh, she's mature for her age. That's literally what they all say. I also think it's weird and I don't agree with it. Even if the age difference is like 30 and 24, while I don't necessarily think it's creepy, there's still such a gap in life experience and maturity where it would take a lot of effort to make it work. It's not as straightforward as like a 30-year-old and a 19-year-old where like, yeah, that's fucking creepy. I said this a few videos ago, but as a 26-year-old, I can definitely sense the age difference when I'm talking to someone in their early 20s. Even someone who's like 23 sometimes. Like, there's definitely a maturity gap, and I'm only 1 year into my frontal lobe being fully developed. Like, imagine when I'm 30, that gap is gonna be even wider. I think some people think I hate age gaps when I truly don't. I'm fine with them as long as both people are over the age of 25 and they met after the younger person turned 25. Like, if a 40 and 60-year-old are dating, who cares? By that point in life, it's like, come on. But I will never understand how people could look at a relationship between like a 30-year-old and an 18-year-old and be like, oh, well, it's legal, so I can't say anything about it. Yeah, it's legal, but morally it's a little questionable. Like, law doesn't always dictate morality, you know? I feel like I've rattled on about age gaps too many times in my videos, so please sound off in the comments. While we're on the topic of dating, people are way too hostile towards couples online, and being jealous of them / being upset that you're single isn't an excuse for that. I've never liked those comments under couples posts, especially if it's a whole wholesome post where people are like, this is so cute, I'm gonna run into traffic now. Like, you just killed the vibe. Thank you. Are you happy? You just made the rest of us miserable with you. Even when I was single, I would have never left a comment like that. It reminds me of that tweet where a woman was like, oh, my husband and I are drinking coffee outside on our patio and we're having a really good day, or something like that. Talking about a wholesome moment with her partner, and people were just ripping into them in the comments like, oh, well, some of us don't have the privilege to sit around and drink our coffee all day. It's like, huh? Like, this was meant to be a wholesome post about a happy moment with our partner. Why are you making it weird? That's what it is. It's making it weird. I don't want to just throw around therapy terms, but could this be considered a different form of trauma dumping? Or like under the umbrella of trauma dumping? Like, you're so miserable about being single that now you're making it everyone else's problem. You're dumping those feelings on strangers. Chat, am I cooking? Like, do you know what I mean? You're projecting. I guess that would be the word. There you go. You're projecting your feelings onto people who have nothing to do with the situation. I have a theory though. I think a huge reason why people leave these sort of comments under people's videos and in general just overshare on the internet is because people are lonely. They don't have a good support system to confide in about these feelings. So what's the next best thing? Strangers on the internet. It's not healthy. And while I sympathize with that, your feelings are your responsibility. Sure, everyone deserves kindness. I hope people who do stuff like this find the support system they need, but don't dump your negative feelings onto strangers. In conclusion, I just think you need to process your feelings of being bitter and single somewhere else. Get a diary, phone a friend, scream into the void. This next take is something. For all of history, white gay men as a whole have always been the downfall of the LGBTQ plus community, and it doesn't seem to be improving. From Del Martin, the Daughters of Bilitis, and the Mattachine Society, I apologize if I mispronounced that, to discuss towards AFAB anatomy, to trivializing women's experiences because they can relate, white gay men have always caused irreparable harm to the community, contributed very little to collective liberation, and are quick to throw women and non-white people in community under the bus for their benefit. Something I've always thought, especially recently, seeing how many white gay men specifically voted for Trump, they're white men first. That's going to be their priority. I do notice though, as a lesbian, there is a lot of unchecked misogyny among gay men. Like an example this person brought up, discussed towards AFAB anatomy. I can't tell you how many times I've talked to a gay man and they were like, ew, vaginas, ew, boobs, gross, how do you do it? Oh, I love I could never be with someone with a vagina. It's like, you don't have to like no one's forcing you, but you could be respectful about it. Like, what's with the misogynistic undertones? It's not even undertones at that point. It's just tones. You're being misogynistic. What comes to mind is a recent situation. I don't know how recent it is by the time you're watching this, but there's a video from a Charlie XCX concert of Brittany Broski dancing on camera, and this older white gay man pushes her out of the way so he can be front and center. And I feel like that's an accurate depiction of how a lot of gay men, especially white gay men, treat women. They'll idolize these female celebrities, but treat the women around them like shit. It's definitely not all gay men. It's not all white gay men. I do think gay men bring a lot of fun and light to the LGBTQ community, and I appreciate their presence. And I would rather us be united than divided, but all misogyny needs to be called out, period, whether it's spewed by a straight or a gay man. And I feel like the latter isn't held accountable enough. Again, not all gay men, not all white gay men, but enough. Enough of it to be a pattern. Now that I started the gender war in the LGBTQ community, we should move on. My hot take is that people are taking the I don't owe you anything phrase a bit too far. Of course you don't owe anyone anything. It's just called being kind. Most people don't do gestures or help others because they owe them. They just do it out of kindness. I do think there are situations where you don't owe people anything. Like, for example, you don't owe people an explanation when you say no to something you're uncomfortable with. No is a complete sentence. But when it comes to basic decency, you do owe kindness to the people around you. I feel like this is also related to the conversation of people not wanting to be inconvenienced by their friends. Like, they won't pick them up from the airport, won't help them move, won't help them with a menial or tedious task because they don't owe anyone anything. I think it all comes down to viewing good deeds as a transaction. Like, I do something good for you, you do something good for me. In some situations, that might be the case, that might just be the setup, but it's just as, if not more important, to do nice things for people just to be nice. Just because it would make someone's day a little easier, even if it's just saying hi to them on the elevator or holding the door open for someone. We do owe people basic respect.
And last but certainly not least, we have arguably the hottest take I've ever come across. Most of these aren't hot takes. Do you agree? Are you sick of me ending every hot take video this way? Let me know below. If you would like to see this kind of video again in the new year, please comment down below and I'd be happy to do it. If there's any particular video you would like to see from me in 2025, I have a Google form linked in the description where you can submit your video ideas. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video, please give it a tiny thumbs up and subscribe down below. Thank you so much for joining me for day 6 of the 12 days of Cinemas, and I'm excited to celebrate the second half with you all. So I'll see you tomorrow for day 7. Bye.